Hello and welcome to your weekly tarot forecast and your Reiki recap for the week ahead. So this week we are heading into some lighter, more creative energy, and it's really coming from a place of opening up your throat chakra and connecting to your sense of expression, but also knowing where it is that you need to channel that expression. I just recently did an audio download for my Patreon community where I gave them all of the insights that I'm coming to in my meditations at this time and all of the messages that I'm having from my guides about what's happening with this coronavirus. And I won't go into the whole thing because that's for my Patreon members. So if you want to go join, feel free to head over to patreon.com/Michelle Shea. But one of the things that I talk about is that one of the positive things that will be coming out of this era of time that we are in is we are going to be seeing sort of a renaissance of creative activity. This feeling of being cooped up in a space that you can't go anywhere and you can't get sort of stimulation from the outside world is going to cause those of us that have been called to this life to be creative to really tap into those energies. So I think we're going to come out the other side of this and we're going to see creative expression that we weren't expecting from some people. We're gonna see people that were artists become more musical, and people that were musical become more involved in film and TV, and we're gonna see a little blending of the energies, and people that you didn't think were creative at all are gonna come out the other side and have created these amazing things. That being said, if you're not feeling called to create something, that's okay. We all have something to share with the world, whether it be creative expression or opinions and analysis of what's going on in the world. So if you're more of an analytical mind, it might be that your contribution is going to be figuring out where the flaws in the system are and sharing that with the world so that they can be fixed. And there's going to be a place for everyone, but ultimately we are learning about that self-expression. And this week, we're kind of dipping our toe into the energy gently. It's not time to go shouting from the rooftops, whatever it is that you have decided to express. It's time to really know where your audience is. And if you do feel called to share what you're thinking or creating with the world, preach it to the choir, so to speak. So find the people that are already going to be on board and let them kind of be your test audience. And as that sort of grows the energy, you will then find the courage to eventually, probably a couple weeks or a couple months down the line, share it more with the outside world. And this is what was reflected in the Reiki energy this morning, but it's also reflected in our cards because they go so well together, as is normal for these readings. So the card that I've pulled this week for the energy is the Three of Pentacles. So the Three of Pentacles is a card of collaboration and for recognizing that there are always helpers around for whatever it is that you're trying to express or achieve. And this week, it comes on both levels. It comes on both a physical level and a more spiritual level. So on the physical level, again, we're coming back to that feeling of allowing yourself to share the things that you are creating or needing to express with the proper audience that's going to be supportive. But on a spiritual level, it's also coming down to the idea that we always have energies at our back to help us to achieve things. So one of the messages that I'm personally being called to integrate into my own life is handing things over to my guides as if they are my personal assistant and allowing myself, rather than trying to figure out how something's going to work or how something's going to be achieved or try to take control of the situation, I surrender it over to a higher power. Whatever your higher power of choice is, works. But I like to think of guides being my army of personal assistants behind me, that anytime I can't figure out how to get something done in the real world, I simply turn to them and say, hey, put this on your to-do list. And usually it gets done way faster than if I were the one that was orchestrating it. So you have a powerful army of spiritual beings at your side, at your back. And the Three of Pentacles is telling us to utilize them more often. And this takes a great amount of practice and surrender. Because in order for your guides to do the work, you actually have to let go of the need to control it. You have to look at the situation that you want to change, Recognize that you are unable to change it on your own, and then hand it over and forget about it. And I think that's also where we're going to find a lot of the creative expression coming in, because when we free up our analytical minds from having to achieve certain things in the world or achieve certain things logistically in our life, then we have spare time to find that inspiration to create. So if you're hitting a little bit of anxiety around the things that you wish that you could see changing at this moment, whether it be on a macro or a micro scale, I would start with the micro. So start with what's happening in your day-to-day life and what you want to change. I encourage you to practice handing it over to your guides. And again, like, make this childlike with your imagination. I literally look to my side or look to my back and say, hey, I want this fixed. Can you handle this for me? And then let it go. Trust that those energies are much more powerful than yours ever could be, and free up your energy for whatever it is you're called to do at this time. So if something's outside of your resources at this time, hand it over to a higher power and focus on what you can do, what you can create, the things that are right in front of you that you can shift the energy of. And both of those things are going to work in tandem with one another to create this renaissance, this renewal that we'll be seeing sometime within the several months after we come out of this initial coronavirus scare. And again, if you want to know more about my opinions on the coronavirus, you can become a Patreon member. The $11 members have access to the audio. The energy card for this week is a beautiful support because it is the Star card. So the Star card is a card of blessings and connection to the universe and ultimate trust, which again comes back to that feeling. Learn to surrender what you can't immediately control. And honestly, you can't control anything except for your own perspective on a situation. So anything outside of you, surrender it to a higher power, surrender it to the universe. Trust that the universe has your back, that your guides are behind you, waiting to assist you. And see how that unfolds. And if this is a trippy concept for you, I encourage you to start small. Start with, handing over a task that you have no idea how it's going to come to fruition. Maybe it's that you need to have a communication with someone and you just can't seem to make it happen. Turn to your guides and say, hey, I need to talk to this person. When the timing is right, will you please make sure that they get to me? And see what unfolds. The process of surrender is our highest lesson during this time period. So the faster that you can learn to surrender the things that are outside of your control, the easier this whole process will become. And honestly, the quicker you'll see results. So I hope that this reading has served you well. If you enjoy these readings, again, my Patreon membership is there. The $3 members get monthly and weekly readings from the cards. The $11 members get monthly audio. Sometimes it's a divine download, sometimes it's a meditation. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out. And I have to remind you that you still have a few more days left to get 50% off a distance Reiki healing session. So if you purchase it before the end of the month, you will be able to schedule it for any time during the coming weeks. The code is virus be damned. You can find it at the top of the page on my website if you're watching this before the 31st. And you can utilize that to your advantage, because if we're all stuck inside, we might as well be healing. I hope that this serves you well. I hope that you have a beautiful week, and I am here to support you in whatever way you see fit.